Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I am Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about Star Trek Discovery Season 2, Episode 2. It's called New Eden. So, full spoilers for the episode, as always. So, this episode, it ties into the overall plot, but it's also fairly standalone. I can see a trend growing out of that, probably, for the next little while.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Is this Trek enough for you yet?
I knew you were going to be smug about this, because this is easily the most Star Trek-y episode that this show has ever done.
This is Trek 101.
Well, here's the thing, though. It does some things differently. Now, admittedly, this is just it's being better than those episodes of the old Trek.
It's Trek in the modern age, right?
Right. But it does actually kind of explain why we have an Earth-like planet with human beings on it.
Yeah.
At least for the most part. Obviously, there's one part of the mystery still there, but there's enough there to like put it together.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, all right. It's also, I mean, I actually genuinely mean that when I say it's better than most original series episodes that deal with this type of plot. Now,
oh, absolutely. It's not necessarily better than all of the original series episodes.
oh, not even close. That's not even up for debate. But I'm talking about specifically the episodes where they find a planet. There's an Earth-like culture that's based on a certain period of our history, right? You know, it's the gangster planet. Oh, that one was kind of fun, admittedly, but that's the one that springs to mind. But you know, they'll have like a Western theme on it, and it's all these like it's Earth in the past, but it happens to be another planet for some reason. All those episodes,
none more egregious than the Constitution.
None more agrees. I don't know. The Nazi one was also pretty.
Yeah, that was also quite rough.
Pretty up there. So this handles it better than those. Joe even has the ticking time bomb element that those episodes often did. It was like, oh, if we don't get them back up in 75 minutes, you're going to die.
Yeah.
So yeah, so they find this planet, which they find because another one of these red, signals appears.
Yes.
And they're looking to where it is. They do a bit of calculations, and it's like, wait, this is like 150 light years away, whatever it is. This is
it was 150 years at top.
Yeah, yeah, which is probably millions of light years, whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
But it was 150 years. The joke that Pike makes is my unborn children's children would have a rough time getting there in time.
Yeah.
So, and then it's like, well, we do have that whole jump system that we could maybe use, and Stamets is not super enthused about it. He's all...
This kind of cracked me up. This was maybe the weirdest part of the episode in that they were like, we shouldn't really be using it. It was like, well, I mean, they let us do it during the war, so I mean, I guess we can just use it when we want.
Yeah.
Really, just like, go on then.
The one thing I did like about this whole thing, because this was probably my least favorite part as well, is not that I'm against them using the jumping technology per se. I guess it just reminded me too much of season 1.
Well, when it's all the black alert and it's getting ready and
and the needles get in the arm and it's just the spinning, like all of it just made me think of season 1. I was like, I don't really, but
do you know what's annoying though? Because objectively, it's quite a cool sequence.
Yeah, the sequence itself is fine, and I don't actually. The one thing I like about it on its own is the idea that Stamets doesn't like doing it. He's scared of seeing Hugh again in the network because it's kind of. I'll boil it down to weird, although obviously that's simplifying it a bit.
Yeah. And Tilly thinking that should be a good thing.
Yeah.
He's like, no, I need to move on, essentially.
And I like that they're cut off. He doesn't really get to finish his thought or his conversation.
Yeah, he's still really out of it.
Okay, I think Tilly's mid-sentence when the captain kind of chimes in and says, hey, we're ready, let's go time, come on. So they go, and it's like, okay, it's a Class M planet, which, by the way, I love how this concept's popped up so much now that I actually know what Class M means.
Yeah, that's the Earth-like planet.
Yeah, I know what that means now because it pops up so much in Star Trek at this point. Because there's so many concepts they throw out that I don't remember. I don't care, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, but I know Class M is, that's an earthy one.
Yes, so it's Class M, and again, the first thing it did to separate it from the old Trek episodes that had these types of planets is but they look at like footage and satellite, not satellite. It's the Discovery. It's their footage, but it's like satellite footage, and they're looking down, and they're looking down at the settlements and stuff, and they're like going, "Hey, this is really Earth-like. Why is this Earth-like? This is weird." And I'm like, "Thank you, thank you."
Did you laugh when they went enhance and it zoomed into like live feed, like super close up? I thought it was gonna just zoom in a little bit, and it's just like, nope, this is like just above your head.
Joe, which ruined that sentence is other shows using that in present day. I don't mind it in this context because it's like, okay, the Discovery's got these fancy ass cameras, they can zoom in and get
but it
feeds.
shocked me at just how much it zoomed in when he said enhance.
The problem with that phrase is I can't help but kind of like
you think of Blade Runner.
Well, that scene from Blade Runner, but I'm thinking of every CSI or show like that where they do it in a photograph and it's like, oh, that's perfect reflection in the eyeball. It's like, no, that's not how pixels work. Stop it. Whereas they've got a live camera zooming in.
And presumably a very good camera.
Yeah, they've got a goddamn long lens on it. It's fine. They can do it. I'll accept it.
Yeah.
Because zooming on an active camera is very different from zooming into a photo or a video that's already been recorded.
Completely different.
Very different things. But just him saying enhancing and doing it just made me groan a little bit.
Me too.
Anyway, so it's like, okay, because is this the first time in Discovery they've had to like pretend to not be like on a starship when they go down? Priority 1, all that jazz.
I'm thinking it was that episode where they were on the planet with all, the really gorgeous looking planet, all the plants. Did they maybe pretend in that one a little bit?
Nah, they were in spacesuits and stuff because there was no one around to talk to. And this is the first time they've went down to a civilization, like because classic Trek did this every like 2 or 3 episodes.
It's true. Which you just mentioned that General Order 1, is that just the same as Prime Directive? Because it kind of sounds like. Oh, hang on. When I Google Prime Directive, a general wiki comes up saying it's also known as General Order 1.
Okay, fair enough. I assumed that since we've already used Prime Directive in this, that General Order 1 was.
I would have thought so as well.
More specific, but fair enough.
Yeah, it seems to be the same.
But I guess the word Prime and then the number 1 kind of both imply.
They are, but the idea of there being 2 different ones. I mean, maybe one just replaced the other. Maybe they just called it this later.
True. Anyway, so they go down, and this culture's kind of weird. It's a group of humans that were, well, not the same humans. Obviously, they've had grandchildren and stuff. Like it's been 200 years. But 200 years ago, during World War III, this church and its inhabitants teleported to this planet, and it seems to be this red angel that we're tracking and exploring right now.
Yeah, which is interesting, and it presents the red angel as somewhat benevolent.
Yeah, clearly one of the themes we're playing with this season is the idea of theology or at least beings that could appear as godlike, which is kind of funny that Star Trek's doing that, because one of the things that we often talk about in the old shows is all these godlike beings that we keep running into.
Yeah, I think it very directly addresses that in this, where Pike talks about, the third law, where, any advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic, and how that evolved to be any alien entity evolved enough is undistinguishable from God. Yeah.
So I like that they're logically thinking about it in trying to actually theorize about what's going on. But, because to the people on this planet, when they eventually catch a glimpse of them beaming up, they're like, oh, divine intervention, the God is taking them.
Yeah.
That's how they're seeing that. So it kind of gives you a good example of that. So here's the interesting thing. So the away parties, Pike, Michael, and Joanne, who from the bridge, I'm like, oh, one of these characters is going the away team. That's exciting.
I will say, a little disappointed in terms of her. She was kind of a glorified red shirt.
Yeah, she got them out the door. That one scene.
Yeah,
that was basically it.
Yeah, and they were like, oh, she came from a Luddite community. She'll be able to interact with all this non-electricity culture. And then none of that ever
a bolt door. She opened a bolt.
Yeah,
that was
there was nothing there. Michael could have just done that. She's sciencey.
Yeah, she is quite sciencey. She never thought of it though. Maybe it would have taken a few more minutes to get to that conclusion. Yeah,
come on.
But so what's interesting is they've combined all the religions, or at least all the sort of primary religions of Earth, into one religion here, and they're kind of worship because they see this like them being brought here as divine. They think the Earth was destroyed in World War III. So all of this is the great grandchildren of whoever was teleported here originally, but there's one family who believe that Earth was still existing, and they have some old tech that was left behind from when they teleported, and one was a transmitter. There's a signal, because that's one of the mysteries at the start of the episode is like, oh, there's a signal out here that's of our tech, but it's 200 years old, which predates warp. So how the hell did something come out here? And it turns out there is this one guy from this family who is convinced they're not who they say they are, that they are from a starship, that Earth has survived, and they're more advanced, and he wants to know. And this is where the fascinating part of the episode for me came in, is where Michael clearly wants to just tell him, because technically, well, that's a branch of our civilization out here now. Like, shouldn't we bring them back into the fold and back into our society? And Pike's like, no. they separated pre-warp, so technically they're still pre-warp. They have to now advance on their own. They have to like go through that, and I'm okay with that to a point. But the fact that there's a person here who's still working with the tech and believes that all this stuff is here is where it gets murky, because this is the point where I started to side with him more than I did Pike.
I think it's supposed to be kind of murky, though. Yeah. Like, actually, this isn't me. I genuinely think it's too, especially when Pike goes back down at the end to visit him and be like, do you know what? You were right. I'm still not going to take you with me, but I'm going to give you a hand. Right? And he gives him that power supply.
I think more than just the power supply, I think it's just answers. That's what he says. Like, you gave me answers. Like, I know now. It's not a mystery anymore. Like, you have to develop on your own. Like, do so. Like, here, have some power. Like,
it's like here's like a little jump start back to where you were, kind of thing, almost.
I mean, not quite.
no, where you were in the sense of they have power.
Okay, sure, but theoretically, what they should really do is give them tech from 200 years ago and say, right, here you go.
Sure, but they don't typically just have that on hand.
True. But yeah, so I was actually really glad that it went back down, because when they left the planet originally, I was firmly on the dude's side, and I was kind of like, I like you, Pike. Like, I don't dislike Pike for this.
I just want to point out here, he did go out diving on a phaser.
Oh sure, yeah. I wasn't saying I dislike, even without the phaser sacrifice. I wasn't, because he jumped to protect a kid who was playing with the phaser, basically.
Yeah.
When the stuff got stolen, but even like without that, like I still like Pike. Pike's still a very likable character. I like everything about him.
Yeah.
But I was on this dude's side. I was on Michael's side, and I appreciate that Michael, because there was that little joke about season 1 where she's like, "I learned the hard way that not following orders doesn't go well."
Yes, you get called a mutineer.
Yes, which we've otherwise forgotten about, but
yes,
that's fine.
That hasn't been mentioned once.
But so I like that. But I was on their side because I'm like, I'm kind of on this guy's side here, where I sympathize that he believes that these things exist, and he believes that, Earth didn't get destroyed. Should we help them because they are technically part of us? Sure, they separated, but they didn't separate through choice. That wasn't like, this was just a completely, to them it's a miracle that they survived, because it was divine intervention, essentially, from what they can tell.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like even another human being made this choice to like put them elsewhere.
No, absolutely not. But like I can understand Pike's angle, though, especially when it's the idea of most of this community is quite content here, right? They're quite happy. That
was before this guy reveals that he believes this and he thinks they're from a starship. That was the argument that I was willing to accept, is that this community is actually quite content in who they are and what they're doing.
Which I think is the reason that even with this guy, you don't take the whole lot. You don't reintroduce all of. Maybe you bring this one guy,
like
in
Saru.
the same way that Saru. Yeah, I was going to say that. Maybe you do that, but I definitely can see why you shouldn't take all of them.
And maybe if he'd asked, maybe Pike could have considered it, or maybe not, because that was Jojo who made that choice, not Pike.
Yeah, maybe, and Jojo maybe bent the rules a little bit to do that.
Yeah, because I think she even said that in that short. She was breaking Prime Directive rules to even talk to him.
I think she did.
But like, because maybe there's an argument for that because of Saru, but at the same time, like I think even he understands that the rest of society here is actually quite happy. Like, I've got my answers. I can advance things. They went a bit far when he turned the power on. Like the light coming from the church was just a bit too angelic.
It was a touch, but I mean, it plays with the themes, so I'll let it slide. I do really like this idea, because obviously, Trek as a whole, there's not a lot of, at least in what we've seen, not a lot of exploring the religion angle.
No, I mean, like I said earlier, the one thing we have is these godlike entities. So I like the idea that at least if they're going to do a godlike entity over the course of the season,
straight up address it in the context of religion.
Yeah. And it's not so much that any of these characters are that religious. I mean, we know Joanna isn't. Michael certainly isn't.
I think Pike is a Catholic, based on some of his responses in this.
Pike seems to have some sort of history with it. I think this is the interesting angle to take from it. It makes me more interested in the Red Angel in and of itself. The part that I'm still worried about is the fact that, we start off in the episode that Spock is having visions of it, and we have to find Spock and find out what he knows about this.
Yeah, no, okay, I'll get you that. But the idea of it being tied into this religious aspect, and it's kind of becoming a faith versus science kind of debate between Pike and Michael. I think that's kind of where it's headed.
And I think it's a very civil debate, though, is what I like about it.
One of my favorite moments in this episode was they're talking about them worshiping it as a god, yeah, a god, and Michael says, "Oh yeah, but it doesn't exist." And Pike says, "Well, can you prove that?"
Hmm.
The idea that it almost doesn't matter to him, like it's just it's a belief system, right? That's all it is. It's fine. It can be just that.
Yeah, I don't necessarily get him as a practicing religious person, though, necessarily. I just get him as someone who...
Yeah, maybe I don't. I'm
Yeah.
not saying he attends church or anything like that, but I think he definitely is a believer.
Because it certainly doesn't sound like churches are that common on Earth anymore.
No, I think he definitely grew up in a community where he went to church, though, at the very least.
Yeah, I can see that.
In his youth, he knows some of the responses and
Because
stuff too
because
well.
it sounds like the younger people in the ship, like Detmer and Michael and so on, it sounds like their generation maybe isn't as familiar with what a church is.
Could be. Michael's obviously a weird example where
She grew up in Vulcan. Which, by the way,
Yeah.
the funniest line of this episode is after he's been patched up in the med bay, right? They're back in the ship, and she comes in and he's like, "Right, Michael, whatever you do, don't make me laugh." And she says, "Well, lucky for you, I grew up on Vulcan and we don't do funny." And he starts to laugh at that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that was good.
I was like, okay, that was actually a really good joke.
Do you know what? I really like this episode.
I quite like this episode
I
as
think
well.
there's a fault that you could say that it moves too fast at points, and it could do with slowing down and taking in a few more of these moments.
Yeah, like my quibbles about like worrying about the Spock stuff is there, but like the episode was very focused. It had some interesting ideas of the debating things. Had some good characters. We haven't even got to the subplot yet. We'll get to that in a second. But no, I liked that.
Do you know what shocked me? We got personality for someone on the bridge crew.
Yeah, Detmer had some. I mean, she had a lot about personality last time, but more so this episode.
This was proper personality.
Yeah, she quipped at Saru when he says, "Oh, can you pull this maneuver?" I was like, "I had my pilot license at 12, thank you very much."
She's like, "Yeah, let's go do some donuts."
You'll be doing a donut in space. It's like Tilly's trying to convince her that like, yeah, like it's just a donut. You can do a donut in space. And she's like, yeah, I can do a donut in space.
She's so into it. It's great. It's just nice to see someone having fun on the bridge.
It's kind of nice. And Tilly's running around in the hospital gown because she injured herself. She was trying to take a fragment of the meteor out.
Yeah.
Sorry, meteorite. I get this terminology right because a meteorite is the rock itself once it's been captured or landed on Earth. The meteor is when it's falling through the atmosphere, and a meteoroid is when it's going through space.
Okay.
I learned that recently.
Who gave you a lecture in the comments?
I wasn't in the comments.
Okay.
I wasn't in the comments. It was on a YouTube video, actually. But there was a debate about which one's which, so I will never forget that now.
Okay, fair enough. No. It felt unnatural, like it wanted to injure her. Because she captures a little bit, she puts it in this little, like, the gravity box, and then it seems to react after that. Like, after it's closed, it should be fine, and then it seems to react in a way to actively try and injure her.
It's funny, I thought it was meant to be a comedy beat, because it looked quite funny when she flied back, until she landed and I saw the blood coming from her head, and I was like, oh, that was quite serious. Oh no.
Yeah.
Also, I did actually really like the small pebble that crushed the table. Like, you know, when the gravity, like, it gets out the anti-gravity part.
She's talking about, like, what 1 cubic centimeter weighs like a ton and a half, and it just crushes it.
Yeah, the table just kind of buckles and like there's a dent in it, and I'm like, oh man.
Yeah.
That's really funny. Luckily the ship could hold that.
I mean, the ship was holding the entire thing.
Yeah, but it was in like a stasis thing. It was like an anti-gravity thing.
That's true. But I mean,
I'm just saying, you're lucky the floor didn't buckle under that, because the floor isn't necessarily...
That's true. I assume the floor is significantly more reinforced to fly through the pressures of space.
Oh, sure. Well, yeah, but it's not the bottom floor necessarily, though, right? It's not the outer hull.
I mean, it's where the shuttle's coming in and out of, right?
True. Good point. Still, it doesn't necessarily take the whole... Like, if you turn the gravity off, I don't know if it can take that meteor.
Okay, I mean, maybe not.
Meteorite. I said the wrong one.
After all that.
But yeah, so she does that, she gets injured, but then she ends up helping, because the ticking time clock element, which we've not really mentioned yet, is that there's... and this is the interesting part of this, actually, is that it seems like the Red Angel intentionally called them here to save the people on this planet, because there's 3 rings of debris going around the planet, right? And the outer one is radioactive. It's got like, you know, if it's fallen into the atmosphere, and if it gets into the atmosphere, it's like a nuclear winter. It's just going to kill everyone. They're all going to be dead. And that's why we end up doing this weird donut maneuver with the meteorite, which technically becomes a meteor again because it gets shot out.
Yeah, but it's not going through any atmosphere.
True,
So
so meteoroid. Yeah, because of meteoroid again, because it gets shot out through the back of the ship. And the idea is that the gravity of this will pull all the which it works. I mean, it's a fun little sequence. I mean, I guess my only critique looking at the episode as a whole with this side stuff, which I enjoyed completely on its own, is that it actually feels really separate from the main plot, despite the fact that it's saving those people. They never know about it. So
no, it's true. Yeah.
So it has this weird thing where even once they get back to the ship, there's never even a scene of them finding out that they almost died. It's just like this was a completely separate thing.
Yeah. Saru's got it under control. No need to tell the real captain.
Similarly, I liked her bonding with Tilly, or him bonding with Tilly. Sorry. The idea that you're the youngest and I was the only, you know, whatever his race is, I forget his race.
Kelpian.
What now?
Kelpian.
There you go. But he's like, oh yeah, you feel like you have to prove yourself. Stop it. You're just going to, like, you know, run yourself down. And then we get this new character, and she's talking to Tilly, and she kind of like convinces her. And we get this funny little beat where she runs out the wrong way and she runs back. It's a little comedy bit about, you know, her trying to figure out, because Tilly can't just rest. She has to try and figure out the solution to the problem, which leads to the whole donut thing. And
immediately something's off.
Yeah, something was off. Like when she first wakes up and she's next to the bed, it was like, okay, this is fine. It was when she popped back in during this scene, and it was like she was like this motivational angel almost on her shoulder. I went, something's a bit off about this character. Something's weird.
Yes. Funny you should mention that specific phrase, because I have a theory.
Oh, you do? You think the red angel's on her shoulder?
Not quite.
Not quite, okay. You think the meteor... No.
Although that is a potential thing.
But that did it to her.
That's a potential thing. I'm more thinking
because we don't see her. It's worth mentioning this character doesn't appear until after this incident with the meteorite.
No, it's true. I was more thinking something to do with last season though, and it would be relevant in this episode based on her conversation with Stamets. So if you recall when they jumped out of the mirror universe, a little one of the spores went on her shoulder, right?
That's right.
The little green spot, and I'm wondering, did that kind of infect her? Is this part of the mycelium network kind of speaking to her?
Yeah, that would lend credence to her learning about that this episode.
Yeah,
it could be that. Yeah, I could see that. Because we find out, of course, the twist. Because this was really predictable, actually, when Tilly was looking this person up. It was like, she's going to be dead. She's dead. Yeah. She's so dead.
but specifically that being in the episode where she learned that Stamets was seeing Hugh, who is dead, and that being that thing.
I think that's bang on. Because she specifically learned about that this episode, I think that's entirely what.
I do think something to do with the meteoroid is also a possibility, given that it didn't happen till afterwards.
Oh, yeah, I think that probably gave it the energy, because obviously this needs, like, because she was going to use the meteorite to power the network, so Stamets didn't have to do it. So I'm wondering, did that charge the
it
flake?
kind of activated her in her a little bit.
Yeah, it activated it. Yeah, I can see that. I can see that being the thing. So. She's dealing with that. Michael eventually admits that she had a vision of the Red Angel when she was passing out, and she also kind of had another quick dream one when she was knocked out on the planet as well.
She did, although that felt it was very quick cut in and shot. It looked like more of it felt like a memory of her,
as opposed to a new one.
That incident rather than a completely new thing.
That said, if that thing brought them here, it does beg these questions: is its intentions good? Is it not a bad thing?
Yeah, it is interesting because it brought them here. Their obvious logic is that it saved them, and who knows? Maybe it thought it was saving them at the time,
or was it a byproduct of it was doing something else, and this was just this just happened to also save them. Right,
but again, it alerted this ship. It alerted that can conveniently jump over to there. It alerted them that, oh, hey, come and save these people.
That's true. That's twice in a row now that it's led to saving someone.
Yeah. It's interesting.
So,
but, still don't trust it, obviously.
Yeah, of course. It was a good episode. I'm feeling optimistic about the season, more so after this one, actually.
Do you want to know something else that was really good about this episode?
Yes.
Still no Ash.
Still no Ash. That was particularly good. Yes. Yeah, that's the other looming thing. That's
It's just like this sword hanging over us. It's coming
Yeah.
down on our necks at any minute.
Ash just come back. I mean, if Bruce Campbell shows up as Ash from Evil Dead, I'll take that.
Oh, I'll take that.
That's
Yeah,
way better.
do that.
Way better. So no, no, I had fun with Stamets. I mean, even when Stamets is like, oh, if we jump, because at first like, oh, we can't actually drive into the belt. We have to,
Yeah.
And he's like, no, we can jump in though. It's like, oh, we've only got like 2 minutes until the point of no return or whatever, or 20 minutes. And he's like,
No, it was like 2 minutes.
And Saru's like, run, and I'm like, yes, and like that was a fun moment.
Yeah,
So I had fun moments, with Detmer, Stamets, Michael, Pike, Saru, everyone. Everyone got a little moment.
One of my favorite moments with Pike is when he goes back down, to visit the guy on the planet,
and
the guy's like, so you fly through the stars? He's like flapping his arms like a bird, and Pike's just kind of, so he just grins and goes, yeah, that's pretty cool, isn't it? He knows.
No, it was good. It was a good episode.
We should mention about Spock.
Oh yeah, we mentioned that we're going to go see him, but we didn't mention that he's committed himself to a mental health facility.
Yes, presumably because he thinks he's going crazy seeing these visions.
Very possibly, yeah. These nightmares.
It'll be a case of they can go, no, it's real. There's something going on, that you're not just crazy.
Yeah, I'm curious how they end us up with Spock though at the end of this, because it's one of these things where it's hard to swallow watching the original series. Oh, he went through all this, like he was having visions of this Red Angel and it never came up, or whatever. Like he was the chosen one.
Yeah, it's a little frustrating. I'm just gonna try and put it out of my mind until it gets too egregiously bad.
I mean, I suppose if they say the Red Angel reached out to him specifically for a reason, then okay, but it's still kind of chosen one because they did it at childhood.
It's a little bit different in that the Red Angel is specifically it's not random, right? We're seeing it making choices. It's alerting them to come here and save these people. If it also, decide to reach out to Spock, it's slightly more swallowable. I mean, it's a little bit annoying because, of course it's Spock, right? But, I mean, it's something.
Yeah, I think there'll still be some ambiguity at the end of the season as to what it is, but I think we'll have enough to have a
better guess,
a debate about it or whatever. Yeah. Like, I could see them going down the thing where it's okay, it's something we don't understand, but it's
But is it just something that's really advanced, or is it actually some sort of god?
Yeah. So, that's episode 2 of season 2. Getting optimistic here, and I don't want to because I'm worried because
you're afraid of being burned again.
Because Kurtzman, between Amazing Spider-Man 2 and The Mummy, I don't trust Alex Kurtzman. Yeah. I just don't.
I think this one was directed by Jonathan Frakes again.
It was, yeah.
I particularly like the swish cuts at the start. Those swish pans.
Okay, sure. Yeah.
When they're getting Michael and Pike onto the bridge, kind of back and forth like 3 times. I thought that was pretty slick.
So yeah, Riker directing still. That's cool. It's fun that he became a director and then it's kind of stuck around doing Star Trek stuff. Kind of.
Yeah. He did a few things in the first season, but I think he's probably a bit more involved this year.
I don't know. Maybe he is. Maybe he isn't.
Who knows?
That is episode 2, so let us know what you thought of this one in the comments below. Like and subscribe, all that stuff. Get us on the Twitters at mailed_fuzz for channel updates. If you want to support the show and the channel, you can head over to patreon.com/mailfuzztv. You can support us over there. Of course, we also do reviews of classic Star Trek stuff. We finished the original series. We're working way through season 1 of Next Generation right now. That goes up every week, so you can go check out that as well on the YouTube. If you're on the audio feed, that's on the Star Trek Viewers Log Classic series version. So just Google Mail Fuzz TV Star Trek, it'll pop up. But that is us. So thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching TV, and to everyone but Connor, live long and prosper.